Hi, everyone. maneco64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So I'm doing my weekend live stream on a Saturday today. I see there's already people waiting. Yeah, it's just before 9 o'clock here, 2 to 9. Truth, Money, and Freedom's here. Hi, guys. Truth, Money, and Freedom. They have a new YouTube channel you should check out, Truth, Money, and Freedom. I'll be doing an interview with them in about 10 days' time. S. Walker. Hi, S. Walker. Thanks for being a moderator. Hi, Gary. What is the chance for a market crash coming weekend after the Dems lose both houses? We'll see. We'll see. It could be even, well, I guess the election is on Tuesday, isn't it? So we'll have to wait and see. I think we're certainly continuing to see a lot of volatility in the markets. Hi, Lord Humongous. Nice to see you. Hi, IK. Michael Church from Arizona. Hi, Michael. JA #S. Hi, JA. Jazz Atwell. Hi, Jazz. Universal Vibes. Hi, Universal Vibes. Hi, Jane Reynolds. SROX40 from Berlin. Timichonga. Hi, Timichonga. Yeah, Timichonga is from Truth, Money, and Freedom. He's going to interview me on the 14th of November. I'm not sure if he's going to publish that interview on that day on his new YouTube channel, Truth, Money, and Freedom. Hi, David Morsilli. Hi, Pablo. I was a bit concerned because today, November 5th in the UK is Guy Fawkes night. Guy Fawkes was the guy who tried to burn down the parliament years ago, hundreds of years ago, and they burned him. He died, and it's a tradition to have fireworks on the 5th of November. 5th of November is going to be Monday, but they're doing it tonight. It's the weekend before, and it's quieting down. But 20 minutes ago, it was really going crazy, the fireworks. I hope it doesn't affect this. Jazz is waiting for Glint. Yeah, it will come. They have delayed the launch in the US by a few weeks. I'm still in touch with them. I will let you guys know, of course, when they go live in the US. Sanjit Niogi, how are you? I'm fine, thanks. Oh yeah, I did the video today about India buying a weapon system from Russia and paying in rubles. Sayan Kombarov, Kazakhstan. Nice to see you here. Thank you for being on the live stream. No, moderator. Nice to see you, No. Yeah, V for Vendetta. That was, the Guy Fawkes mask. That's what they use, anonymous. It's a bit annoying, I guess. When my daughter was young, we used to take her to watch the fireworks, but now she's at university. My wife's going out for dinner with friends. Billy does, yeah. He wasn't last year. He wasn't well at all. He didn't like it. Luckily, tonight he's not here. He's with my mother-in-law because I'm going to be away for a week. Doesn't mean I'm not going to be doing the videos, but yeah, I'll be. We're going away tomorrow for a week. My wife and I. I'm meeting my sister and my nephew somewhere warmer, and we're going to be playing a bit of golf. I haven't seen them in a while. So Billy is on holiday with his mother-in-law. And I think where she lives, I don't think they have as big a fireworks display as here. So hopefully he'll be okay. I haven't got any of my mugs. This is a chicken mug. It's not a maneco64 mug. Will gold go lower? Well, gold had an interesting week, very volatile, and it closed very strongly the last few days. So I don't know. Short term, it looks a bit stronger, but you never know with gold. Longer term, it's still the best thing to hold, in my opinion. Best monetary asset to save in, not paper money, of course. Prof. Grampy, yeah, guy tried to kill King James and the son of Mary, Queen of Scots. Yeah, they tried to blow up the Parliament and didn't go very well. Maybe it would have been a good thing if they had succeeded. Who knows? Yeah, Glint are at the Fort Lauderdale boat show. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try. That's one of the things they told me when I talked to them. They want to market Glint as a way to be able to go anywhere in the world and pay with gold, which you can with a Mastercard. So I'll be trying out my Glint card in Spain. That's where I'm going, in Spain, to Spain. So it should be all right there. Ger Olgi, he's from Norway and he's been to Finland. He just went across to Finland to buy cheap tobacco. I remember once I took the ferry from Copenhagen to Malmo in Sweden, and with a friend of mine who was Swedish, and he showed me a few guys. They were like, they looked really hungover. They had bottles near them, and he said, "Oh, these guys, they stay on the ferry all day and they drink because the alcohol is so expensive in Sweden or Denmark, but it's duty free on the ferry. So that's what they do. They spend." The heavy drinkers spend the whole day on the ferry. So you see, people always find a way to avoid these regulations and taxes. Derek McRae, yeah, I prefer gold as a store of wealth. I think Bitcoin will eventually become that. But Bitcoin, I've got some Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, but it's a lot more speculative, I think. Even though it's not to say that gold and silver couldn't explode higher either. Russia's buying Indian jewelry, diamonds, and medicine. Okay, that's good. So that's where the Indians are getting the rubles to buy the weapons defense. I can see that now. Randy, Roger Handy, Trump is a fraud. He's part of the corruption of his patriotic speeches keep everyone suckered in. I won't argue with that. And I think the other thing is the military industrial complex. He's pandering to them. I saw an article here, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about. It's on the Wall Street Journal. Let's have a look here. Where is it? It says, a big reason U.S. economy is accelerating government spending. Faster government spending, particularly on military, accounted for nearly half of the acceleration in economic growth since mid-2017. A start. So you see, that's that's one of the reasons the U.S. economy looks good. It's all war spending or military spending, nothing to do with prosperity, really, I would say. There's quite a few people here already. I'm just trying to keep up. Button Banger. I wonder if Guy Fawkes blowing up the House of Parliament was a false flag. You never know. It could have been. Could have been. These guys have been at it for a long time. Yeah, a lot of people expect that. S. Walker says that if the red tide does well, or the Republican Party does well in the midterms, that the stock market will go up. it's possible. Tim Jones, I'm from the UK. Will the dollar crash your economy too? I have 70,000 sterling and 43, never bought a house. Waiting for the crash. Well, you see, the dollar and the pound or sterling, they're both fiat currencies. The dollar might outperform sterling longer term, but against gold and silver, I think there's no competition. Gold and silver will always outperform. But I mean, at least you don't have. Hopefully, that 70,000. It could be in the bank. It's protected, I guess, up to I think 85,000. But you should maybe think about buying some precious metals, or just leave it in cash and wait for the property market is already coming off in the UK. Uh, Gentautas, were you thinking about crypto debit cards? Yeah, I have the Wirex card. That's very good. Wirex. We had some problems with Wirex at the beginning of the year. The cards were, the cards were like, how can I say? The people who issued the card lost their, contract with Visa, or they were closed down. Had to wait a few months to get it back, but it's working well. You can store Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin on it. Wirex card. It's quite good. It's better than it used to be before they had their problems. Trump is here to see the U.S. through bankruptcy. That's possible. Yeah, you can hear the fireworks. Yeah, they're a lot less now. I mean, half an hour ago, it was really pretty loud. USA modern day Rome, I wouldn't disagree. Hi, relaxing Woody. Yeah, I'm having a nice weekend. Thank you. My wife and I are going away tomorrow for a week. I will be taking my laptop and my phone. I will try to do as many videos as possible, but it will be a bit, maybe not as much. Hopefully, I will be able to do it every day. Precious stones like diamonds and stuff. Well, I bought a diamond ring and stuff for earrings for my wife, not as an investment, but as you do, for your wife or girlfriend, for that matter, or your fiance. Yeah, I've seen that, Peter. The King of Saudi Arabia is head of the UN Human Rights Council. I think apparently I saw a story that they paid 2 billion to the UN to kind of say, give us that post. Trump never meant to build a wall. It's always about getting troops there. Border closings, keeping people out of. Gold Dow ratio goes to 1. What value it would be? Well, I guess it all depends if we're going to have a deflationary collapse or a hyperinflationary collapse. It would tend to probably go to 10,000 to 1 if it was inflationary. Deflationary, even if gold stayed at 1,000, but the Dow dropped to 1,000, it would be 1 to 1. It's difficult to say at what level it will be. This evening no more, relax and have fun, Mario. Yeah, it will be fun because I'll be My sister will be there with her with my nephew. They're flying over from Switzerland. We're going from the UK, and I'm gonna. My wife doesn't play golf, but there's a resort there. But my sister and I and my nephew are gonna be playing almost every day in the morning, then spending the afternoon with my wife. That would be fun. So I'm looking forward to that. Hi Ben, nice to see you. Jewelry for women is a bigger scam than central banking. Well, Derek, I think, my wife was appreciative that she got a nice eternity ring. You know, maybe it was silly, the money to spend, but it's something that she will always have and she can pass on, to my daughter. Who knows? Sanjit says, I left the UK and took all my money out and bought 4 houses in cash in India. Gold, diamonds, and government bonds earned me 8% interest. All right. No, we are about due for another Muppet slaughter. What do you mean by that? What kind of slaughter is that? A Muppet slaughter? In what sense, No? Elmo, Lord Human. When is it going to be? I think next Sunday is the 11th of November, which is Armistice Day. Was the day that World War One ended. It was at the 11th hour, 11th day in 2018, and it's going to be the 100th anniversary. And in the UK, every November 11th, it's a big thing. All the poppies, you guys who live in the UK know about it. And I respect, the people that died in those wars. And it's a good cause, to raise money for the people who died in the wars, or who are still some victims of current wars, the poppies. But I think people need to wake up about how war is a racket, and it's one of the things I wanted to talk about. I mean, there is no disrespect for the the Legion here in the UK. They do a lot of work with the poppies and everything. But if they spent a tenth of the time they do promoting all the poppy selling and raising the money, they spent a tenth of the time talking about this book. It's not even a book, it's a pamphlet. It's only about 50 pages. War is a Racket by Smedley Butler, Major General, the most decorated soldier in US history. If people spent, even here in the UK, a fraction of the time they spent on selling poppies doing this, I think they do. That would be showing a lot more respect to the dead than selling poppies. I know it's a remembrance, of course, but it's like if one of your family members was shot and killed, you'd want to find out why and who did it. And this is this book tells you why and who did, and why the war happened. And racket usually means something that the general public doesn't know about. It's only the insiders know the real reason why it happened. And I really recommend this book, War is a Racket. And I've even got a link here. It's very easy to find a PDF link, but I'll put it here right in the chat if you guys want to read it. It's very short but very interesting. And it shows, how much more money these big corporations, sometimes not even big corporations, small companies, providing all kinds of material for the forces, how much money they make and how corrupt it is as well. So, for example, he talks here, take our friends, the DuPonts, the powder people, and he tells you how much, he says the average earnings of the DuPonts for the period 1910 to 1914 were $6 million a year. It wasn't much, but the DuPonts managed to get along on it. Now let's look at their average yearly profit during the years 1914 to 1918. $58 million a year profit. So, I mean, nearly 10 times the normal time, the normal times, and the profits of normal times were pretty good. An increase in profits of more than 950%. So that's one example, the DuPonts. Peter says, World War I, great war for the bankers, disaster for Europe. Why didn't the British accept the German offer? Yeah, well, because one of the, yeah, the Balfour Declaration has something to do with it, but also Smedley Butler says that what was happening as well, the Allies threatened the Americans because the Americans lent a lot of money before they got into the war, and they were, you know, the Europeans were on the hook for a few $1 billion, like $5 billion. They said, we're losing here. If you don't help us and the Germans win, you're not going to get your money back as well. So that was part of the reason as well. But it wasn't only the bankers who made money. He gives you loads of details. One that was really interesting. Where is it here? Let me find out. Oh yeah, it says, he says here. Also, somebody had a lot of mosquitoes. Where is it? Hold on. Yeah, someone had a lot of mosquito netting. They sold your Uncle Sam 20 million mosquito nets for the use of the soldiers overseas. I suppose the boys were expected to put it over them as they tried to sleep in muddy trenches, one hand scratching cooties on their backs and the other making passes at scurrying rats. Well, not one of these mosquitoes nets did. Well, not one of these mosquitoes net ever went to France. And it says, anyhow, these thoughtful manufacturers wanted to make sure that no soldier would be without his mosquito nets. So 40 million additional yards of mosquito netting were sold to Uncle Sam. And that's despite the fact that there were no mosquitoes in France. So it's all kinds of profiteering went on. It wasn't just, you know, the big corporations, all kinds of people. Oh yeah, pawns in the game is also a really good one. Giselle Hall says, I agree. Yeah, Lord Humongous, I agree. Always follow the money. So the other thing that I thought I talked to you guys about is because I'm going to Spain. So I got a bit of euros. I mean, I do have debit cards and I can use there, but it's always good to have some paper money, I guess. And I got a 50 euro note here. The thing about the euro note, it doesn't even say anything. It just says 50 euros. And it has a signature here by Mario Draghi. But it's all it says is 50 euro. It doesn't even say, I guess at least they're honest because it's not really a promissory note. It's just a token. And I find it interesting. And if you look at the Bank of England note, they still put this phony promise here. I promise to pay the bearer on demand the sum of £10. They still put that here. You see, you can barely read it anymore because it's shrinking the note. But the difference, yeah, there's nothing written in the euro and loads of stuff in the Bank of England note. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. What's up with Brexit? I don't know. The market seems to think things are getting better because the pound rallied a lot in the last 2 days of this week, but you never know. You never know. No, he's never been to Spain. I haven't been to Spain in a very long time. I think the last time I went there, maybe 10 years ago. Before that, when I lived in Switzerland. So, but we're going to actually, it's not, we're going off to Tenerife, which is actually not in mainland Spain. It's a group of islands off the west coast of North Africa. Lord Humongous needs a tribe membership card. Roger Handy, how many countries have you been to? I haven't really counted, but I mean, I used to travel a lot when I was younger. My parents took us a lot. My dad did. He used to take us a lot. He had his own business. Had to travel a lot. He used to take us a lot, but I haven't really counted, Roger. I guess the only one of the, I haven't been to China. I have been to Hong Kong before it was even part of, it was handed back. I haven't been to India. I have been to Australia a long time ago. Africa, I haven't really been to Africa, nor Southeast Asia, nor the Middle East. But, Europe, North America, I've been, quite a few places there. Hugo, me too. Hi, Hugo, me too. Victor Ademadola, do you still believe cryptos to be the money of the future? I think there will be one. I think there will be one of the things that people will accept as money. They won't be the money. I think there's room for competing money. Is India in debt trouble? I think a few months ago, or weeks ago, when there was problems with the emerging market currencies, India had some problems, but I'm not sure. I don't really follow India too closely. I've got an interesting note here you might like. It's called The Embarrassed States of America, Bill of Impeachment. Bill Clinton, $3. On the back, it has a little U-Haul truck leaving the White House. I guess he'd managed to hang on. He was, there were impeachment proceedings against Clinton. He survived. So there you go, $3. The Embarrassed States of America. I am rad too. Have you stocked up on food, medicine, ready for March 31st, 2019? No, I haven't. I mean, I'm not really a prepper. So what's up with March 31st, 2019? I don't know. Sanjit says India is under no debt trouble. India's current account deficit is reducing and gold reserve is increasing significantly, both in private and public holdings. There's your answer for whether there's troubles in India. Oh, Brexit Day, is that what it is? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of that is scaremongering, to be honest. I don't take medicine anyway, so I was told to take metformin a few years ago when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, but I found out that if I exercised more and ate the right things, I didn't need to take the medicine. No, Alan, I haven't read the books on PT Dave. No, I haven't. I haven't seen gold one gold back bill with a crypto link. Lord Humongous says he stopped taking metformin as well. You go me to go vegan. Well, you know, I read something about Nikola Tesla, and he was talking about that energy from vegetables is pure because it's straight from the sun. You know, when you eat meat, it's stored energy, so it's not as good. But in the end of the day, his suggestion is that you shouldn't overdo it. You should have a balanced diet. So I'm not going to go vegan. My sister was telling me that my nephew's gone vegan, you know, but he's a health freak. He's 25 and he exercises a lot. But I'll just stick to eating, as you know, different kinds of food. You go me too. Has been vegan for 7 years. So has that been good for you? You go me too. Has it really improved your health? SC, how is it possible that during a time central banks are accumulating gold, the price is still going down? Well, because it's not all central banks that are accumulating gold, especially not in the West. And what the Western central banks do with the gold that they have and with the gold that they hold for the other people, like you know the Fed and the Bank of England, what they do is they manipulate the price through the paper market. There's still, you know, a lot of people who speculate only on the price of gold. They don't care about having the metal, so that's how they get away with it. Azur says that Brazil and Colombia want to invade Venezuela. The new Brazilian president says he intends to invade. Well, I haven't heard anything about that. I think there's a lot of rubbish and speculation because the only reason there are some troops in the northern border of Brazil with Venezuela is that there's like almost like a refugee crisis. A lot of Venezuelans trying to come into Brazil, and that part of Brazil is very sparse. It's like the Amazon forest. The president of the, you know, don't forget, he's not the president of, he's not the new president. He's the new president elect. He's only going to be come officially president on the first. Well, and I think that's one of them. I don't think Brazil and Colombia want to invade Venezuela. Why would Brazil want to be involved in Venezuela? It's like I think they just want to keep their borders safe. So let's have a look at a few more things about war is a racket. Well, Smedley Butler, I think yeah, he was involved. It says here, let's see, Major General. So he was born in 1881. He was awarded 2 Congressional Medals of Honor. He retired in 1931. And after that, you know, he went around the country, the U.S., lecturing about, you know, the war racket. Very interesting little pamphlet. One of the things he says, though, and that's quite interesting, I didn't know, up until and including the Spanish-American War in 1898, a lot of the U.S. soldiers, they used to get paid a lot. And if they you know, invaded a country or had loot, they used to share with the army the loot. But after that, they stopped it. And the way to convince young men to go to war was to start giving them medals. because for some reason people like medals is a great, people can be convinced that having, winning a medal, you know, is good enough for them when they go to war. Apparently, probably many of you don't know, there were no medals awarded during the Civil War. So it's a new thing, the medals. It's just to like placate young people. We're not going to pay you anything, but you're going to get medals. So that's an interesting thing. 163 watching, only 23 likes. Well, Zura thinks the U.S. wants to install a puppet government in Venezuela. Yeah, we'll have to see about that. We'll have to see. Aussie Max, day traders read charts but don't seem to take into account geopolitical events. Would this mean trader charts are a lagging indicator? Well, day traders, they don't really care about news. They just look at the charts all day. And if geopolitical events might increase volatility, but they don't care either. They actually like volatility, day traders. You want volatility in the markets. So I don't think it matters for them. Adam Anderson, I've lost belief that Trump will end the Fed, but do you have faith in Trump regarding the global pedo network? Not a funny question, but rather important. Uh, Well, I've heard stories that Trump has been involved in that kind of stuff, that he's a friend of Epstein, the Lolita Airlines or something. And so I don't know. I don't know what to believe. There's a really interesting video on YouTube. It's quite old. It's this woman who was married to an admiral in the Navy, U.S. Navy, and she talked about that. All that stuff is done uh, you know, to blackmail people. Uh, and that all the people at the top are compromised. And I wouldn't be even surprised if Trump is compromised, even though I don't have any proof. But that's not something I cover. I cover more money, the markets. Uh, but I guess if it starts affecting the leadership in the US, and it could affect the markets, but I haven't heard any more. I wouldn't be able to tell you anymore. It's the same thing here in the UK. It's sick. I agree. It's sick. But that's the way it is. Yeah, conspiracy theories are exciting. But some of them are a bit silly. I mean, and believe me, I've been called a conspiracy theorist, but there's one now that I find quite amazing. First of all, I'm not too sure about this Q guy. If it's a group of people or a guy, and now they're saying that Q is JFK Jr. That's a bit of a stretch. You can't say black, Mario. You're racist. Did I say black? I don't think I did. Did I? Black market. Jean Clem, salut de la Bretagne. He's in France. Salut, Jean. Uh, ECB is stopping QE before the end of this year, but they're keeping rates negative and at zero indefinitely for now. So they are stopping the QE at the end of the year. Azura says Q is a psyop, very possibly. Jordan Silvestri, would you mind saying just a brief overview percentage of your current investment portfolio? Well, it's very simple: precious metals and a few cryptocurrencies. And I guess the house I live in, even though it's not an investment, if I were to sell it and buy a smaller house, so it is kind of an investment, bricks and mortar. I've been trying to invest in my channel as well, buying equipment. That's an investment. You need to invest in yourself and maybe your family as well. That's what I tell people a lot of times. Don't think of investment as just buying stocks or precious metals, or think about it sometimes, investing in your family, in yourself. Tim Jones, would you have 70K in precious metals instead of liquid in the bank? I would be much more comfortable with it in precious metals, to be honest, because if you 70,000 pounds in the bank is not yours. It's an unsecured loan to the bank. Legally, it's not your money. And you find if you put your 70,000 in the bank and you go there, well, you don't knock on the door, you walk in and you say, I want to take 10,000 out. They're going to ask you loads of questions, even though it's supposed to be your money. And you're going to have to give them like notice. When you have the precious metals in your hand, it's yours, no one else's. I mean, if you're interested, I've got a promo code. It's maneco64 with the oldest bullion dealer in the city of London, reputable, goldmoney.co.uk. But if you've never bought gold, I think I would probably just buy a little bit to see how it is doing it. Do you think gold could go lower? It might go a little lower, but I don't think it's going to go that much lower. And I think there's much more potential on the upside. So instead of, you could wait for gold to go back to 900 pounds an ounce. But it could also go to 2,500. So you might miss out maybe on 20, 30 pounds, but you could be set to make, 1,000, even more pounds. 2 ounces of gold. Yeah, that's a good start. I mean, you're going to probably pay about 2,000 pounds for it, just under it. If you look at the gold chart, it looks like it's in a bubble. I don't think so. I think the chart of the Dow and the Nasdaq looks much more like a bubble. No, I don't think it's a bubble. And gold is a reflection of how much, the price of gold is a inverse reflection of how much debt a country has. If you look at the national debt of the UK, it was 800 billion 10 years ago. It's now almost 2 trillion. No, I don't think gold is a bubble. If anything, it's very undervalued. Relaxing Woody, would you recommend buying 10 ounces of silver this weekend? Well, uh, that's a weird question. I mean, if you want to buy silver, you should buy silver. It doesn't matter when you buy it, I think. Yukon Cornelius, would there be a actual Brexit? Yeah, I think it's going to be very watered down. We don't really know what kind of deal they're going to get, or if Parliament is going to have to vote on it. Do you think silver can go to $500? I mean, I'd like to see silver first go to 50. That's a key level, but it's possible. It could go to 500. That would mean that we have had massive inflation or rising prices, and that's a possibility because for the last 10 years, central banks and governments have been creating money out of and lending money out of thin air, huge debts. Someone's got to pay for that. You can't, and gold and silver are usually a reflection of real value. And I think they've been, they're heavily undervalued, and paper assets are too overvalued. Uh, I think it could go to 500, but would that be the reason why I would buy it? No, I would buy silver as more as an monetary insurance. I wouldn't think about that. It's like when you buy your house. When I bought my first house after we had our daughter, I wasn't thinking about the price of the house. I was just thinking about somewhere to live. So silver is the same thing. You'd be thinking about somewhere to park your money safely. Happy Meal will cost $40, and silver goes 500. Yeah, could be. Steve Bannon just destroyed some lefty apologists in a talk up in Canada this week. Suggest you all check it out. Well, that's the other thing that's a bit bugs me a bit. There's too much of this left and right paradigm right now. I think people need to focus. I think there's a lot of it is divide and conquer, and I know the lefties can be really, the social justice warriors, but I think we need to focus more on our true enemy, which is the monetary system. These are just distractions, just like they're trying to tell us that Russia and China is a threat. This is another distraction, though, so they can justify the military spending and wars. And I even see the alternative media now buying into this rubbish, that China's a threat or Russia's a threat. They're buying right into it. And that's sad. Emily Johns. Hi, Emily. Yeah, the bankers always control both sides by debt and also by brainwashing and manipulation. Thanks, Emily. China's a paper tiger caught in their gambling nature. Well, I think the Chinese are the best business people in the world, the best capitalists. And that might sound strange but I know mainland China is communist. But look at Taiwan, how successful it's been. Look at also a lot of countries in Southeast Asia. The main business communities, they're all Chinese. So the Chinese are very good business people. Who did you vote for? Emily asked. I don't vote, Emily. Don't never vote. You go, me too. Yeah, government default. Yeah, got especially the emerging markets countries because they borrow from abroad. They go bankrupt. Alan Greenspan said that the U.S. can't go bankrupt because they can print them as much money as they want, but the loss of value of the currency or purchasing power, that's just as good as defaulting. Hi, Emily. My voice doesn't matter really. I don't want to legitimize politicians. I think democracy is a scam. I'd rather have economic freedom. So I I don't want anything from them. So why should I want representation? I don't want anything from politicians. Joseph says just bought 1/10 of an ounce Perth Mint Coral Sea gold coins at $129. Great piece. Yeah, voting is just a scam to make people believe that they have a say in things. So I don't want to be involved. Chinese are praised for their business savvy because you can't tell when they're lying. Well, the Americans lie as well. So, you know, Richard Nixon said he was closing the gold window temporarily, and it's still closed. They screwed foreigners. They said you can have an ounce of gold for $35, and then they said, oh, not anymore, temporarily. So it's not only the Chinese that lie. Americans and the British lied about the weapons of mass destruction. And the thing is, if you want to be, I think in business, if you want to be successful, if you start lying and deceiving people, people are not going to do business with you and you're not going to be successful. I'm not saying all Chinese are perfect, but I think they're just as good business people as other people, if not better. Mr. B, good evening. Nice to see you. Joseph, what do you feel about hold to maturity accounts with treasuries? I heard the commercial banks don't have to market if they hold them that way. For commercial banks, yeah, that's why, regulation wise, they if they buy treasuries, it's not count. They don't have to hold it in reserves. But for the individual, it's a different story. But that's one of the reasons why treasury market and even government bonds in Europe have not done as badly, because the regulation gives the bank, it's almost like they can buy it for nothing because they can borrow cheaper, so they buy as much treasuries as they can and it doesn't count against their reserves. Cyan Kombarov, what do you think about Trump's promise to pay off US Treasury debt? Well, to do that, Cyan, he needs to start running a budget surplus. And as of right now, the budget deficit is going to be like 6% of GDP in this current fiscal year. So I think it's just a pipe dream. He must be smoking something if he said that. Giselle says, thanks for the chat. Oh, you're welcome. Pat says Trump could print greenbacks like Lincoln did. Yeah, but the bankers can always manipulate that and like make it worthless as well. Wondering Soul from upstate New York. Love your rational and calm demeanor. Thanks, Shaheen. Sorry, Wondering Soul. You will. Thank you. Yeah, audit the Fed and the Fed. Yeah, I think they've been trying to do it for years, but they're very powerful. And unfortunately, most politicians have little clue about the nature of money and the monetary system, and that's one of the reasons why I do my videos and have my channel, is try to wake up people to the because they think money and the monetary system is complicated, but it's not. It's quite a simple. You can teach a child to see how fraudulent it is. Mr. B, UK petrol prices robbery 146. That is high. Where I live, it's around diesel's around 136, 137. Where are you, Mr. B? Kent. Yeah, I'm in Kent as well, but I'm closer to London. Maybe you are more outside London than I am. But that's high, 146. And that's funny because the oil prices have dropped a lot in the last month. So it's weird. Are you a libertarian? Yeah, I would say so. I like to have small government, free markets, rule of law. Uh, you know, I don't really think the printing money like greenbacks, debt-free money. If governments can, I don't even think that's a good thing. I think we should have just money is just a commodity, and it should be a free market commodity, not a government controlled one. And the people in the market should decide what they want to use voluntarily as money. We don't need governments to tell us what money is and control it. Mr. Semic, I have heard that we're going to have gold price at 1400 by end of the year. Why are we still stuck at 1200? Well, I'll tell you a good story about that. And you have to go back about 40 years. Uh, the last, the great bull market of gold in the 70s, gold topped in January 1980 at $887 in January 20th, 1980. But did you know that in the beginning of November, right where we're now, do you know where the gold price was? It was $400 actually. So it more than doubled in just under 3 months. So from 1200 to 1400 is nothing until the end of the year. We could even be at 2,500 by January. If what happened in 1979, 1980 happens now. So it's nothing, $200. We moved $30, I think, on Thursday. Yeah, it's the only politician that I have time for, Shaheen, Ron Paul. Joe April, candidate Trump said the market was a big fat bubble. I remember that. Now it's because the economy is doing well because he's spending loads of money on the military. Sanjit says both US and UK say only negative stories of India. I don't think it's only India. A lot of the third world countries or emerging market countries, they criticize. I think it's a bit of a psyop. It's partly to for people here and in the US to think that they live in a great place, so they have to denigrate other countries. It's not even because they've got something against that country. Shaheen says, I saw him once in Florida. He was with I was with him from the start. Yeah, I met Ron Paul actually in 2002. I went to the Mises Institute in Alabama for their 20th anniversary conference. It's the Mises Institute is one of the major Austrian school of economics institute, and he was there giving a speech, and I met Ron Paul. Nice guy. And he's never changed his message. In the 40 plus years he's been in, you know, out there. Pat, I don't think November. It's not the meeting they have Wednesday and Thursday is not like a one where they have a press conference afterwards. So I don't think it will move the markets. I think the Fed is going to hike in December. That's when they have a press conference. But I could be wrong, but I don't think maybe if they publish a few comments afterwards, it could affect the markets. Jack and Roy, I'm all right, Jack and Roy. How are you? Nice to see you. So I've got some other, for those people who think that it's okay to leave their money in the bank or fiat, I've got some other banknotes here. This is a million Reichsmark. This is from 1923, just during the hyperinflation, German paper money. I've got, how much is this one? This is another Reichsmark, 500,000 marks. How much is that worth today? Maybe just as a, collector's item, but you can't spend 500,000 marks with that. There's some more German currency that's become worthless. These are 200,000. Oh, that's a total of 200,000 marks in 10,000 mark notes. I can't go to Germany now and use that, but I could. I'll show you what I got as well. Really interesting. I've got here 20 gold marks, Deutsches Reich, 1904. So you see that's real money. I could still get quite a bit of purchasing power out of that, while out of this I get nothing. The only thing it's good for is to, if you run out of toilet paper, and as a, curiosity, this provides you real purchasing power. And I've got some old currency from Brazil. In Brazil, they've had a lot of currencies. So we got this one from the 60s. It's called a Cruzeiro. And then you've got this one from, let's see, from the 90s called the Cruzado. That doesn't buy you anything anymore. And now we've got Real as well, which will probably, go down the drain very soon too, like all other paper currencies. And you can't even trust. That's why we need to stick to physical if we're going to have a system, because you can't even trust silver certificates or paper money that says I promise to pay you in gold or silver. We need to have the real thing, because even the U.S. Treasury is defaulted. I've got here a silver certificate. I guess I could spend that, but it will only be worth $1, even though it should be a silver dollar. And if you go to if you knock on the door at the U.S. Treasury, they won't give you a silver dollar anymore. So that's why physical is the only way. Paper is paper. Physical is physical. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. Trump deal raises Asian markets. 5 minutes later, Yahoo, Trump tariffs spook investors, markets crash. I think a lot of the move in the markets, some people try to, say, oh, it's because of this and that. I think the markets are moving because they just move. I think sometimes we put a lot of importance on what's going on outside the markets. Uh, Peter Oisinger says he's got a lot of pre-World War I German coinage, pure silver and gold. Yeah, no, old paper is not honored anymore. Even the ones that had the promise, they're not honored anymore. So I don't really understand why people still believe in it. Maybe it's because they're ignorant of the history. Jack and Roy. Hi, Jack and Roy. Hi again. Sorry if I missed one of your questions. You have a question? Jack and Rory. Sorry, I said Roy. Yeah, sorry, Roy. Jack and Rory. Yeah, I like the 20 franc European coins as well. Funny you should say that. Let me show you. So I've got 20 francs, 1860 French franc, and also 20 lira Italian, which is the same. It's just a different name, but it's the same gold content, same weight. So that was, I think, the Latin League. That was like a monetary union in the 1800s. John Kang, how can we survive stagflation? Well, don't buy bonds, long-term bonds. Hold on to precious metals. Yeah, the stock market is not a good place to be. Yeah, just look at what happened in the 70s if you want to know. Lord Humongous, how much is a house worth in London? Well, it depends. I think the average house price is probably like £350,000. But if you go into central London and West London, you won't be able to get a place, a decent place for less than £1 million. I've also got here Russian coin. I think he has 10 rubles and it's got Tsar Nicholas on the back. So you see, money was the same everywhere. There's no such thing as paper money. It was just gold and silver. The reason they had exchange rates is that some of the coins had different weights and different standards. Some were 90%, like the US. The UK was 91.66. In France, it was 90% as well. So that's why the only reason they had exchange rates. But the money from the US was the same as in Europe. The only thing you needed to do if you got a lot of, if you got a lot of US gold coins in Europe, you had to just melt it and turn it into French francs or sterling. That's how they did it. Belgravia prices, I would say they're at the highest end. Belgravia is very expensive. I don't know because I'm not near there and I don't plan to move there. What's 450,000 pounds? Well, multiply that by 1.3, so 30% more. So it's about 500 and almost 600,000 pound dollars, I guess. Let's see. 450 times 1.3, 585,000. Is the pound more still? Do you mean is the pound, 1 pound is $1.30? So I think the lowest it's been was in the early 80s. It went down to 105, almost 1 to 1. You go, me too. Marin, in your opinion, did the Fed save the people in '07 in saving the banks? No, I think you know, the bankers were and are still the biggest beneficiaries of the '08 collapse. The people haven't really, the people have been suffering. They've been lumbered with all the debt. And the bankers, they were saved from bankruptcy and they were given free money and they've become even richer than they were uh, before the collapse. I don't have any tally sticks pad. I don't think it's accepted anymore. It wasn't a bad system though, the tally sticks, but it was still controlled by the government. It wasn't market money. Joe April, does it make any sense to hold any other fiat besides dollar? Well, it depends where you live. If you live in Europe, I guess you want to hold some euros. But in the U.S., no. I would, if you want to diversify, I would stick to precious metals. T. Hambone, I'd love to beat the bejesus out of modern central bankers with a tally stick. Yeah, I think the problem with central bankers is they think they're above intellectually, superior to everyone. They think that they're like a Soviet central planners, and hopefully, that delusion will end very soon. Any thoughts on China's $4? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Joseph. Will Smith. I'm not really here to give you advice on what to do in terms of your investments. I mean, it's up to you. I personally think think that it's good to have precious metals as safety. Should you sell all your ISAs? Maybe a little bit and buy a bit of precious metals. That's what I would do. But I don't know what you have exactly in your ISA. Oh, Joseph, any thought on China's $40 trillion credit bubble? Could this trade burst it? Well, a lot of people are focusing on China that they're going to collapse, but I think the country that's in the most trouble in terms of that is the United States. So, China is still growing at more than 6%. But of course, China has, the thing is, China GDP is now 2/3 of US GDP. 10 years ago, the US was 5 times bigger than China. So, yes, China has accumulated a lot of debt, but they've got something to show for it, more production. And, the Chinese government doesn't have that much debt. I guess, a lot of state run companies do. But I'm not sure if it's going to be China that triggers the collapse. GBS63 from Canada. Hi, GBS. Mustafa, do you recommend selling dollars for Swiss francs in addition to holding a bit of gold? No, I wouldn't hold Swiss francs. Swiss franc, yeah, has a reputation of being a safe haven, but it's backed by FANG stocks now. So no, I wouldn't hold Swiss francs. I don't think this Chinese national debt is 40 trillion at all. Their GDP is about 13 trillion, and I think their debt to GDP is much lower than the American one. Uh, what if China devalues their currency in a big way? I don't think they will. I mean, the Chinese currency actually rose quite a bit from beginning of 2017 to the end of 2017. It went from 696. The dollar dropped from uh, the dollar dropped from 696 to about 625, and it's only been this year since spring when Trump started the trade war that the Chinese let their currency drop to back to around 698, and now we're back down to 680. I don't think they're going to devalue because don't forget. Devaluation, might help exports, but China needs to buy a lot of inputs for manufacturing from abroad. So if their currency goes down a lot, it's going to make imports, a much more expensive, and it's actually not going to help. Oh, don't worry, Joseph. Well, we can check here. Let's see. Chinese national debt. All right. According to Wikipedia, the China national debt is $5.2 trillion, 47.6% of GDP. So there you go. US national debt is 105% of GDP. So that's settled. It's about $5 trillion. Yes, Pat, I think the dollar has topped against the yuan. I made a video, I think it was yesterday or the day before, of how it looks like the dollar yuan has topped, like a double top. We had a high in January 2017, and we've had a high now. It looks like a double top. Sanjit Mary, the size of economy and GDP measurement is based on fraudulent exchange rates. China is already largest economy PPP measure. US is second, India is third. Do your research. Well, I haven't looked into PPP. Some people still use GDP. So I'm not sure if China is the third. India is the third biggest economy. Who knows? Yeah, the yuan amount sounds. I think you put the dollar sign there instead in front of 40, Timmy. So, but it's a Y, I would say, the sign. Hebrew Israelite Benjamite. That's what they report. I heard the inside scope from people that are credible. Yes, Brian, the US would probably have to follow if China and Russia went back to a gold currency. Well, Sanjit, I actually don't like any of these measures, GDP or PPP. I think is all part of the Keynesian scam. Uh, if yeah, it's just these economists need to know the size of the economy so they can tell their politicians how much they can tax us. So actually, I don't want to educate myself more on Keynesian rubbish like PPP or GDP. And I don't care if India is the third largest economy or the US. It doesn't really matter to me. I don't think China will devalue. I don't, they've already devalued a little bit in the last few months. And I think they got what they wanted from Trump, and that's why they're letting the currency go back up a little bit in the last few days. So I'll take a few more questions and I'll call it a day. I've been on for over an hour, well over an hour. Yeah, parasitic Keynesians. Yeah, all these statistics, CPI, GDP, unemployment rate, it's just they need that to centrally plan the economy in a free market, small government economy. Why should we care about where there's almost no taxation? Why should we care about GDP or CPI? If you have sound money, you don't have to worry about inflation either. So, oh, you're welcome. You 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 got me too. Yeah, Lord Humongous, all rubbish lies. So thank you everyone for participating tonight in the live stream. As I said, I'll be away the next week. I will still be I will be doing the videos every day, hopefully. Peter Weitzinger, is Theresa May going to survive? To tell you the truth, Peter, I don't care if she survives or not. It doesn't. Probably not. She'll eventually go. So again, thank you everyone, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great rest of the weekend. Take care. Bye.